Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to MotoGP 25. Yes, the newest game from the MotoGP franchise has finally released and we are going to be diving in with a career mode. We did quite a bit of this last year. I think we made it all the way up into MotoGP 2. Was quite competitive, or Moto 2, sorry, I should call it. We were quite competitive and then I just kind of got busy with other things, so didn't manage to continue on with the game. But hopefully this year we are going to try and become a MotoGP World Champion. Of course, if you're watching this on the main Matt212 channel, there'll be a link down in the description below to Matt212 Plays. That's going to be where the majority of this series is going to be going over the coming weeks and months. But yeah, very, very much looking forward to this. They've made quite a few changes to the game ready for this year, and I've been trying to see a little bit more of the real-life MotoGP series as well. So I'm still going to have to learn names and things like that, ready, you know, through Moto 3 and Moto 2 and things like that, but I'm really hoping we can have a lot of fun with it. Of course, get yourself subscribed if you're new around here as well. Like I said, we want to try and get Matt212 Plays to be even, get a few more subs over there as well. I'm going to enable subtitles for you guys as well, but obviously, yeah, we're going to be diving in with the career mode now. This is the first kind of time I'm launching the game and everything like that, as you can probably tell, so this first episode is normally a bit more kind of just going through stuff, as actually immediately we're going to be thrown into the Autodrome Bruno, obviously returning, I believe, to the MotoGP calendar this season. And I guess we're kind of doing a little bit of a tutorial, I guess, kind of. We're on autopilot currently, but I'm guessing this is like the game trying to like set us up so we know, or it knows what assists I want to use as well. Of course, I enjoy just kind of playing around with it, kind of showing you guys everything I possibly can. And of course, for those of you as well that don't know, I suck at this game. Like, it is going to take me a few episodes to try and get back into the swing of things. But I definitely did get a lot better at MotoGP 24. But apparently this one is like way more sim-like and things like that. So probably going to be even less forgiving as well. But hopefully, yeah, we can have a lot of fun with it. As well, I'm just happy so far that I haven't fallen off. That might change now as we head into one of the more complicated parts of this venue. But yeah, I'm just hoping that we don't fall off the bike, as apparently we can rewind as well. Yeah, I guess that's good to know. So we've completed another objective as well then. So complete the lap to finish the tutorial. If you don't know, Bruno, I believe it was in Project Cars back in the day as well. But it is a very, very fun little venue as well. Obviously, mainly known for motorbike racing, but they do race cars around here as well. Of course, obviously, the Formula 1 faithful of you will recognise some of the venues from the calendar. But as far as I gather, half of MotoGP seems to be based in Spain. So, obviously, Barcelona is on the calendar. I can't see them heading to the Madrid, or the Mad Ring, whatever they're calling it, anytime soon, as... well, that was going to happen, wasn't it? Can I rewind again? Can I just try to avoid having that nasty, nasty crash? There you go, we get to see the bike going absolutely flying there. Bikes don't work, or these bikes don't work well in off-road. So we'll just try and keep it on the road that time round. So this uphill chicane is going to be brutal. But yeah, for those of you, like I said, that are new, I tend to, with these games as well, start at the bottom and try and like work our way all the way through. Now, I believe this game has actually got one of like the new Junior series. So we might then start with that and obviously dive in and then, try and work our way all the way up through Moto 3, up into Moto 2, and then into MotoGP as well. But there we go then, tutorial is going to be complete, and we have done our first steps into the world, so we can exit that out. I think I'm going to do a few other little bits and pieces, get the whole game set up, and then we will, well, hopefully get kind of into the career mode. So, one of the big things then with this game this year is the idea of choosing your own path in career mode. So you get the option of either a rivalry, so in our case that is to try and finish in front of Bausrai. I'm going to be butchering so many names. I apologise for that. Either that or development, in which we've got to try and finish ahead of our teammate Detweiler overall in the standings, or we've got to try and finish ahead of Batelli in the standings as well, which will give us a huge boost in reputation points. I think we're going to try and beat out Detweiler this season. I have selected to start in the Moto3 category. But yeah, ready we go then. Ready in the career mode. As you can see, the first round of the year back out in Thailand. So we've got a few different options. We've got to try and be ahead of Detweiler after the first 4 rounds of the season. You can see there are quite a few customization options, things like that. And then you've also obviously got the paddock as well inside the game. So similar to what we've seen before, about obviously trying to build up a good relationship. Or, you know, whether you want to be the hero or the villain as well inside the game. And obviously building relationships with some of the bigger teams as well then. So bike development as well, of course, you can just try and do some upgrades. I don't believe this counts in Moto 3, because I believe all the bikes are the same, if I remember correctly. Someone, I'm sure, will yell at me down in the comments below. But yeah, let's head out then, ready in Thailand.
Good morning from Buriram. We're live for the second practice session in the Moto3 class. Only the first 14 riders in the combined standings will go directly to Q2. All the others will have to fight for the 4 remaining places in Q1.
Well, here we are then, heading out onto the circuit for the very first time, of course. Hopefully I remember some of these tracks inside the game as well. But yeah, I think I'm running the AI on 90 for this first race, just to try and get used to it and things like that. I'm sure during a lot of the Moto3 season, we will have to kind of try and change it and things like that inside the game as well. But yeah, really looking forward to getting back out onto the circuit. Now, if I remember correctly, this track has a really, really long straight in towards turn 2. And then a lot of the rest of the lap is actually quite tight, twisty and narrow. So I believe, yeah, this is... I think I kind of remember this track now. I'm not running the racing line. Whether that's a good idea or a bad one, we'll wait and see very, very quickly. But apart from that, I don't think I'm running any kind of major assists inside the game. I don't have any of the auto steering or anything like that. Manual gearbox, like I said. But this first weekend is just about going to be trying to get back on our feet, working out the lines, working out kind of the bike's handling, everything like that. And hopefully, maybe making it into Q2. Not sure how I feel about the royal propaganda. That is quite excessive, I would argue here. But I know Thailand, for example, they have a very strict monarchy. Anyway, let's not get into kind of that. We've got a motorbike to ride. There we go then, first lap times coming onto the board with 1:39.9. This first lap has felt not bad, but not great. Of course, we'll only really get an idea of the pace once we cross the start-finish line. I'm hoping we're going to be there or thereabouts. 1:41.2, 1.4 off fastest so far. So I don't know how much the AI are going to ramp up their times and things like that, but honestly, I'm pretty happy. Well, I've got to give them credit as well. Obviously, I know recently MotoGP has been bought out by Liberty Media, I was going to say. But the game looks fantastic. Obviously, I know the new graphics for this year as well. I personally think look quite good as well for MotoGP, both IRL and therefore inside the title as well. I'm running this on an RTX 3090. So, obviously a very, very high-end graphics card, but a few years old. I'm pretty certain it's at 4K maxed out. It runs smooth, it looks fantastic. I'm not complaining about that for 1 second. So, unfortunately, yeah, that second lap a bit of a write-off. I'm going to try and do one more. We were a good half a second up before I came off the bike. But again, it is more about the consistency, as whoever EOShes keeps getting lap times invalidated. I've got no idea what they're doing. Fastest has improved, though, down to a 39.6, so we definitely do need to find a little bit more, as this hairpin, you're really, really late on the brakes. They're trying to chuck the bike in, and then got to try and be nice and early on the throttle as well. 7.5 tenths found already. Come on, we've just got to get the rest of the lap hooked up. This final corner is really the one I'm struggling still to work out the braking point. There we go, that time around we've done all right. So we're going to find about a good 1.4 seconds then, so 39.8. That puts us P8 then. I mean, the margins are so tight in MotoGP. We're down in 8th, a quarter of a second away from fastest. Safe to say this lap time then is really, really coming together towards the end of it. Almost a second up again then. Oh, that might be a penalty. Just accidentally skimmed the apex of that penultimate corner, but let's just try and make sure that we still get the lap on the board, then get on that throttle nice and early, 9/10 of a second up as we round out the final corner, and the first rider into the 138s might have to up the AI a little bit. I'm quite surprised, honestly, how quickly I've got back used to these games as well. But let's see if that immediately puts us straight through into Q2. Well, there we are then. We did end up fastest. 4/10 clear of Ruida there in the end. Angel Paqueras in P3 ahead of Matteo Batelli and Joel Kelso rounding out your top 5. So, like I said, we'll up the AI before we head into qualifying if I can. But KTM's there dominating the top 6 ahead of the 2 Hondas of Fernandez and Nepa. But that's reassuring though. We're straight into Q2. So hopefully we can get a good time on the board.
We're back at the circuit for the second Moto3 qualifying session. The first riders are about to get out on track and battle their way to the best grid positions for tomorrow's race.
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be patched then for this game, but I know on MotoGP 24 when we were playing that, that sometimes the AI would be much quicker in free practice than they were in qualifying. But unfortunately, I can't change the AI mid-weekend, so we might be a little bit dominant here. But on the other hand, rain is expected for the race, and well, if it's anything like MotoGP 24, I'm going to be high-siding a lot as we get into the race. I even know some of the terminology. You got high side, tank slapper, everything like that. So we are ready to become the new go-to MotoGP. But anyway, let's head into our first qualifying lap there, and that is immediately... You cannot use curbs on a motorbike. It just induces understeer, so got to be careful with that. We've only got 15 minutes in this session, so there is not much time to get laps down. I know there were talks not that long ago about potentially coming here for a Formula 1 Grand Prix in Thailand. Obviously, I know they want to try and do a race in Bangkok as well, but I'll be honest, I like this track. Don't think it would be suitable for Formula 1. I don't think it's long enough or kind of big enough to really work with a Formula 1 Grand Prix, and it's kind of not complicated enough. A lot of this circuit is just kind of straight lines and then very tight corners, but first lap on the board then of a 140.2, so not bad, but not great. I think the problem is with this circuit is it's got a lot of challenging corners for a motorbike, but in a Formula 1 car, far too many of them around here would just be easy flat, and I just can't really see much opportunity for kind of good battling and things like that as well then. But second lap time, we have found a lot more again, so as long as we dip back into the 138s, hopefully we're going to be very, very competitive there as well. Again, just make a little bit of a hash of that final corner. That is still the one I'm struggling with. We are going to run a 139.0, 6 cents clear of Joel Kelso in second. Hopefully that's going to be a straight on pole on debut. Certainly a fairy tale story. Well, there we go then. A big upset right at the end of the session there. Jose Antonio Ruida will claim pole position on a 138.8 there ahead of Angel Paqueras. We will line up in P3 though, so I believe that's still on the front row, just ahead of Munoz, Carpe and Quiles. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sure I'm butchering all of the names. Just yell at me down in the comments. But yeah, like I said, rain still predicted in the race, so let's see what happens.
Good morning from Gavin Emmett at the Chang International Circuit. We are just on the outskirts of the city of Buriram and ready to bring you the Thai Grand Prix. In a few moments, we'll move to the main straight to watch the start of the Moto3 race. After a long weekend, the race is finally about to start. We're on the starting grid where the engineers are completing their checks before the off. The forecasts for the race say to expect rain at any moment. The mechanics are keeping the wet tyres ready should the race be interrupted.
Well, here we are then down on the grid, and thunder and lightning predicted by the end of this race. So, again, for those of you that aren't aware, in MotoGP, pretty much if it starts raining, very, very quickly, they will obviously stop the race and you can bolt the wet tyres on. I don't know if... I think, yeah, the races in this game can get permanently suspended as well, which is obviously something that the Formula 1 games still don't have. But let's wait and see then. I don't think we can really change much. I don't think we can change any bike settings actually down on the grid. Like I said, annoyingly it won't let me change the AI. So we're actually on 85, not 90. But I'm going to up that to probably 90 or 95 ready for the next race. But I guess we're ready to go then.
All the riders are lined up on the starting grid. The countdown begins for the lights to go out. Just a few moments more and the Thai Grand Prix will begin.
Well, we have the inside line then ready for turn 1, but let's see what we can do then here. 10 red lights are on. And it's going to be lights out, and away we go then, off to a fairly sluggish start there, as that's Munoz trying to cut in, ready for turn 1. Now, the AI, they will bully you inside this game, so you kind of got get the elbows out immediately against them as well then. As you can already see, Angel Paquera is not my biggest fan in the world, apparently, but as we try and get a run down in towards the big braking zone of turn 2, where are the AI going to try and get on the anchors? So we'll immediately try and make our mark there around the outside of Rueda. Not quite able to get around him there, but we'll try and do the odd up and under on the exit. Not quite working out for us as well, though, so we're going to be under pressure from Paqueras and Munoz as we make our way down the next straight there, and you can definitely see towards the top end we have a little bit of an advantage. The AI there, that is normally where they will kind of try and give you a margin if they possibly can, but we've kept it clean and tidy then off the start. It's normally kind of further down the pack where you see a lot of chaos there, as Munoz making a very, very good getaway, and even now Paqueras trying to have a look back down the inside in towards the next couple of corners as well here. So yeah, we've lost one place off the start then, so has Paqueras. Both of us losing one to Munoz. I've set the race distance to 35%. Now in Moto 3 that's not going to be very long, but as we move up to like Moto 2 and MotoGP, it should be a little bit better. Maybe down the line I could be tempted to up it to 50, as that is not the line through the final couple of corners. Luckily, I'm going to throw myself off a little bit of time there on the exit of the corner, but of course it's actually easier to spot your braking points when you've got all the other riders around you, because obviously you're basically just braking at the same time as them. But yeah, Rueda though, very, very quick first lap here, as someone already is getting a track limits warning. I believe you get 4 normally, and then you get a penalty there as well. Again, not getting the line we needed through turn 1. No idea where Detweiler is. I would assume he's about 10th then in this race, but let's just try and kind of build some consistency early on here. Maybe trying to look around the outside of Paqueras. Again, plenty of action at the start of this one, but as you would expect from MotoGP there, as around the outside will go all banging alongside him on the exit of the corner. It's going to be a drag race back down in towards the end of Sector 2 there. As you can see, the top two really, really defending from each other as well. So Munoz making an impact early on here and trying to remind everybody after a bit of a weaker qualifying just how good his race pace is. But again, the big question is, when will that rain arrive? As that corner again just cannot get the line right. And we try to go back around the outside of Paqueras, but that won't happen. There's the rain. There's the rain on just lap 3. So immediately we're going to start seeing riders struggle with the grip. And, well, immediately I try and use a curb, which is even worse idea in the rain then. But like I said, normally what happens pretty quickly is the game will kind of bring everybody back to the pit lane. The red flags will be thrown, and we might be able to get this going again in the wet conditions. But if we can just try and get one run past Angel Paqueras again. It's our top two there. Munoz has actually moved into the lead now, ahead of Rueda as well. But changeable conditions in the first race of the season is always a pretty brutal start to any kind of campaign. But yeah, we just can't quite match Paqueras at the moment. Well, are we going to see anybody opt for an early pit stop here? It's not something you tend to do in MotoGP. And yeah, nobody is going to want to dive in. Nobody wants to be the first rider to lose out. Lap times haven't fallen off yet, though. We ran a 140.1 that time. As fastest so far as 139.4 from Munoz. There is all I see there. I think that's... Is that Adrian Fernandez? Am I butchering the names? I can't remember. That's definitely Patelli as well. On the 18 bike, trying to look back past us. But again, slow in, fast out is always the approach.
Well, the riders can't continue like this, and the officials are waving the red flag.
There you go then. No surprise there. The track was just starting to get a little bit more slippery. And now we're going to be basically reset and thrown straight in on the wet compounded tyre as well then. So restarting this race in P4.
Everything's ready to resume the race in the new conditions.
Yeah, so hopefully we're on the outside line for turn 1. We can try and sweep in and get a good start here. But let's see what happens then again. 5 laps remaining of this race. The 10 red lights are back on. And he's going to be lights out. And away we go there. And we've had an even worse start this time around, getting swallowed up on the run in towards turn 1. And like I said, I do not want to kind of be in the middle of the pack there. We'll try and thread the needle and recover a couple of places through those first couple of corners. But yeah, the race actually taking us back then a couple of laps as well in these wet conditions. So this first race of the year being made ever so slightly longer than what we were originally expecting there. Is all we've run into the side of Rueda, and our race leader immediately falls off. No surprise there. Somehow we have barged our way through to the front of the order then. And normally it was in the wet conditions on last year's game that I really struggled. But late on the brakes, and we have somehow made it work. Detweiler as well, our teammate, up into P9. You can see, although the conditions here much worse, the pace doesn't actually feel that bad at the moment. You're very grip limited on a bike anyway, so I'm surprised we're not struggling more than we are. We're definitely getting a bit more kick out from the rear end of the bike and things like that, but I think the AI might be a little bit weak in the wet conditions right now. We pulled out a 4-second margin in just one lap here, which, say, I don't think I'm doing badly, but I'm certainly not kind of... Oh, no, there you go, immediately. As soon as I talk about it, we're going to come off the bike. We're going to get back on, though, and still be in the lead. That's quite a dramatic restart lap. But, yeah, again, the AI, they were really OP in the wet of last year's game. Maybe Milestone have kind of gone too far the other way. Well, I'll be honest, as long as you just obviously brake a little bit earlier, you're a bit more gentle kind of rolling on and off the brake, and kind of steering a bit more gently in. The wet weather actually isn't that difficult. In fact, the pace isn't even much slower at the moment. We might almost be into the 141 still, as I believe that's Tyre Ferrasato. He dominated Moto3 on last year's game, I remember that. But yeah, the pace isn't even that much worse at the moment. We've pulled out 11 seconds. There's a yellow flag out in Sector 4. Someone else has come off. It's only really this last corner that's a big problem. But we are kind of dominating this, and I've got no idea how. I tell you what then, for debuts on a motorbike this weekend, we have certainly made a name for ourselves immediately here. 23 seconds clear now of Munoz in P2. Again, that is going to come with a big asterisk next to it. I'm going to, like I said, tweak some settings, everything like that, ready for round 2 of the season, but I guess I'd rather be 5 seconds a lap faster than the AI than 5 seconds a lap slower than them. So, you know, swings and roundabouts and all of that as well then. But a 141.3 best lap in this race. I'm pretty happy with that as well. But as we round our way through the final couple of corners to kickstart our debut here in Moto3, the Chang circuit has witnessed a clinic this afternoon through the final corner. Please don't fall off. We're going to win on debut here in Moto3. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's take a look at the final results of this Moto3 race. The riders are returning to the pits and will soon join them in Parc Fermé for the usual post-race interviews.
Well, there we go then. A lot of chopping and changing behind me on that last lap, with 29 seconds clear of Adrian Fernandez in the end. Angel Baqueras in P3 ahead of Foggia. Munoz in 5th there, just ahead of our teammate Detweiler, with Lunetta, Ferrasato, Quiles and Almanza rounding out your top 10. But yeah, the perfect way to kickstart the new season. 25 points on the board. Of course, your race results exactly the same as your championship standings as well there. But CIP as well, we're leading the team's championship as well after that first race AC ahead of Leopard and CF Moto as well there. So happy to kickstart the season we have. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, we'll get a few things tweaked ready for round 2. Like I said, obviously in the intro, if you're watching this on Map 2 and 2, there'll be a link down in the description below to Map 2 and 2 plays. But yeah, we'll be back very soon with round 2. I believe we are heading to... I think it might be another Thai circuit or somewhere nearby.
The camera is taking us into Parc Fermé to see the race winner, who is rightly celebrating with his mechanics. If he continues like this, it will be difficult for his rivals to keep up with him.